Welcome to Markets Now. I'm Michelle Rourke with Brad Kooima with Kooima Kooima Varilek. Well, we are seeing a nice rebound in the cattle market today. Hogs to the plus side. We're mixed over in the grain trade. Corn seeing a little pressure, but soybeans are back higher today. And Brad, let's start off talking about the cattle market. Implosion yesterday with this human case of HPAI, but do you think we overreacted?
Oh boy, I think like by a mile, in my opinion, Michelle. So thanks for having me on. I thought that, the cattle were having some issues. Okay, cattle and feed report wasn't very helpful. Our weights are plenty big. It's the time of year where demand is not great, very normal, right? Weights are big enough. Choice select spreads narrow. So there's some of that macro stuff, but to say that we should have gone down $7 or whatever it was, $6, because of that news, I thought was completely unwarranted. But it is what it is. At the end, I remember when I was younger, I was griping about a day like that, and the guy goes, "Well, the market's always right. At the end of the day, that's what we all have to pay on what the market settled on today." So I guess it's like arguing a bad referee's call, I guess, in a basketball game. But to me, hopefully, I went home yesterday thinking, well, hopefully we get 24 hours for cooler heads to prevail. Let's really look at this issue and hoping that we get some more clarity, maybe more scientific type clarity. I can't help but think, so where I live, Sioux County, Iowa is obviously got a lot of livestock. It's also the number one county in Iowa for not just hogs and cattle, but also for chickens, believe it or not. So we've gone through this bird flu, this liquidation of these big units for 4 years. And I guess, my common sense farmer thinking is, geez, if it was that big of a deal, we'd all have had it by now, right? I thought this morning, so watching the news last night after the Iowa Hawkeye women won, I was hoping that we wouldn't see that. It's our lead story, right? Like COVID was for months and months at a time. And it wasn't. And in fact, it wasn't even on the show that I watched. Now, this morning, CBS Good Morning had a little blurb on it, and this gal did a really nice job, I thought. She goes, yeah, it's the first time we can confirm that it's been, transferred to a human. But it's red, watery eyes, itchy, watery eyes, what she said. She said it's like a really, really mild form of pink eye. There's no reason to be worried. This is not a risk to the population. So hopefully that's more of the tempering of the news as we get into it here today. But of course, you and I both know what happens when you spook the long speculator, right? Uncertainty is hard on the cattle market.
Right. No doubt. And we don't want to alarm people. In fact, we'd like to hope that cooler heads prevail. But I do have one question. Nebraska said that they are limiting imports of dairy cattle. Obviously, you have to test cattle and have a import permit before you can move cattle in there anyways, right?
Correct. Some of that is kind of hyperbole, I think, but I would, as a cattle guy, I would prefer that we, let's throw a net around this. Let's make sure we do whatever we can do to allay any of the public fears.
Right.
I mean, people, you'd be disappointed how uneducated, we've removed a couple of generations from ever being on a farm or knowing somebody on a farm. I remember that interview I was doing during the middle of COVID for CBS Nightly News. And the guy asked me, he says, ask him what he means when he says beef, because I get all of mine from the grocery store. The truth. You can't make that up. So let's be careful. Let's make sure that the public knows that this is a very safe product. Yeah, the milk got thrown away. This isn't transmissible, but we could do a better job of that. I think let's tell our story. Let's make sure everybody knows this stuff is just fine. And even the guy with pink eye probably had a hamburger for supper last night.
Yeah, no doubt. So now, how much recovery do you think we can expect? Because we're seeing a nice bounce today, and we've held kind of some of the lows that we need to. And what about cash this week? Because cash really is telling a story. We're still seeing the futures at a discount, aren't we?
Cash is very important. You're absolutely right. I think, and trading at this steep a discount, that should help cushion, whatever sell-off we get. Tuesday, of course, it's difficult to come up with a good test on cash cattle. It'll probably wait till the end of the week. Without this news, the cash market actually Friday, when there was no markets, was a little bit firmer in the South. It was 186 all week, and then I heard some 187 cash trade, and the cattle were actually imported to the north to go to Nebraska, which is friendly. I would tell you that the north is very tight current. So the only indication I have yet is some sale barn stuff, and that would show that non-implant cattle are bringing 192 to 3, which is maybe a couple lower than last week. Conventional cattle has brought some. I want to watch some sell at 187, which maybe is a couple 3 lower than last week, but not a wreck. I guess I'm curious what the guys in the South are going to do. They are largely basis traders, and of course, with April cattle down here, they're going to be a lot easier seller maybe than they were last week. And the North can only be so much premium in the South. But I'm hoping it's better than this, but I'm going to say the North at 186 to 7, the South at 183 to 4. But it's only Tuesday, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's better than that.
Okay. And futures, how much recovery do you expect here if we hold?
Well, yesterday's highs are likely going to be a big deal. That actually failed at kind of a June cattle was close to a 50% retracement on yesterday's highs before the debacle. I would watch that pretty carefully. People are going, well, what are those highs? 181.40, give or take. Okay, that's where the 20-day, maybe just a little bit below that, would be where I'd watch. So now that's a pretty good pop, though. That's $5. Why not? Let's reach for the stars here.
That's basis June, right, Brad?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Hog market traded like a champ yesterday, and obviously there's some probably cattle hog spread unwinding going on here. But with the report coming out on Thursday, we hadn't had a chance to trade it. How bearish was the report really, and how surprised were you that we traded as strong as we did after that?
Well, I thought the report, a little negative in terms of some of the number of hogs still kept for market, and maybe the weight breakdown part of it, the 120 to 180 class, a little bit bigger. I thought that the rest of the report was okay. Like the kept for breeding and the farrowing intentions and stuff, I thought gave enough hope to the long term. And we smile and we talk about hogs sometimes being somewhat contrary, but I miss the old days when you'd get a better idea of what is the floor, what do you really think the report's going to be? Because sometimes I think they give out trade guesses and really there's something different a little bit built in. It felt to me like we went into the hog report with an attitude of, this thing feels a little better, demand's a little bit better. We're shifting some of this demand here to some cheaper stuff, and we think we've killed a few enough sows here last year that it's going to be a little tighter as we go into summer, and so there was some enthusiasm, I think, already for the summer, and then I think that the trader was going, let's just so the report's not bearish, and I think you could say that report didn't hurt the back end of the market's optimism, and that's, I think, how the market responded. Phew, it's not bearish. Okay, let's get in there. Pretty impressive. Outside day up, making new highs on the close. New highs for the move. So pretty good day.
Yeah, no doubt. In June, I think making new contract highs here. You got to believe that maybe strong demand is pushing us and the higher cutout values, I would think. Okay, what about the corn market? We pulled back yesterday. So was that profit taking and farmer selling, or was that the weather?
Wheat, maybe the wheat. I'm going to go with that.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe there was a little bit of farmer selling. I don't know.
So what are we trading today then?
Yeah, you're good at asking those hard questions. I don't know. Wheat's come back a little bit, except not Kansas City. It seemed like yesterday they were going, look at that big weather system. We're going to raise a wheat crop. It only has to rain once, and you got a wheat crop. I'm teasing, but that's kind of the mentality of the thing a little bit. And part of the thing is it was 15 higher. That's a pretty big move. So to give back a little bit shouldn't be the end of the world, I don't think. Market needs to have good news every day. Now, to me, the corn market, I'll go into the macro speech here. Basis is improving. You've got ethanol margins if they aren't a record, they're certainly very close to it. There's certainly going to be enough demand from that side of the industry to move it in. And if you believe these reports, the cattle and feed, etc., there's more cattle to feed than they eat corn. So I think the demand side of the corn market makes me encouraged. Plus, it's the time of year where it usually rallies anyway. So now we'll talk about, I already have my first guy worried that it's going to get too wet, that they won't be able to plant on time. So we'll see what's bean deal, a little better fundamentals off of some crush numbers. I'm actually more friendly corn than beans, relatively speaking, just because of the overall supply structure. But yeah.
Yeah, I've just been surprised corn has stayed down here because soybeans have had a pretty good rally. A lot of times beans can kind of pull corn up. So we'll see how the day finishes.
Yep, no argument.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us, Brad Kooima with Kooima Kooima Varilek. That is Markets Now.